Hello and welcome to the Quality of Life podcast, hosted by me, Raha. I was the youngest Arab and the first Saudi woman to climb Everest and the 7 summits. And today we're meeting Tara Rose. Tara Rose Kidd is the founder and creative director of Tara Rose Salons, an award-winning luxury salon brand located in Abu Dhabi and Dubai. Tara also leads the Tara Rose Academy, mentoring future beauty professionals with a focus on excellence and emotional intelligence. Tara, thank you so much for being in our first in-person podcast episode. I'm so excited.
I know. What an honor. Thank you so much. What an achievement as well. So congratulations.
Thank you. 10 seasons and it's the first one in person. So I'm really happy that it's you. I can't wait for us to get to know you and get to know more about your story and your journey. I'm sure our listeners and our viewers would like to know. But first, I'll start with our tradition that has come kind of synonymous with the episode, which is, what is the meaning of quality of life?
Do you know what? What a great question. When I
It is,
read that
isn't
this
it?
morning, I was
Isn't it?
like, wow. And so for me, I believe it is living true to purpose.
Mhm.
True to purpose and being able to be okay with being authentic. And that's not an easy thing to do, but it made me have a bit of reflection this morning about my journey and how I've got to that, how I believe I've got to that point, which hasn't been easy, by the way. So yeah, what a great question. But that's
Thank
exactly
you.
how I felt this morning.
It's such a simple question to ask, but it's really complicated because, first of all, you have to define what it means.
Yeah, and it's
What,
so
what, what
different
what's
to
quality
everybody.
to you? And then after you define what quality is, what do
Yeah.
you do to obtain that quality? A big part of our journey and a big part of who we are is definitely the people that we meet along the way. And those individuals leave an imprint, whether it's positive or negative sometimes, affect us and shape who we are. So who are the people who have inspired you in your journey? Who are the people that have helped you become the person you are today?
I mean, there are so many. I've had mentors, I've had business coaches, but I'd say one of my best supporters is definitely my husband.
Oh, that's
Yeah,
amazing.
I mean, we moved to the UAE, sort of 17 years ago, and our life was very different. So we've built businesses together. We've overcome so many things, from being younger to getting older, having kids. So yeah, my
Oh,
husband is definitely
you
for me.
chose well, mashallah. That's
Yeah,
you
I
know.
mean, it's not been easy the whole way
It's
through,
not it's not about easy. I think when you feel like you have a partner in the truth sense,
yeah,
then you know that you chose, and it's not an easy road.
no,
It's not.
no,
It's not an easy one. There's a misconception they think that good marriages are easy.
yeah,
Not necessarily,
no,
because you can have a good marriage and difficult life. It's still not going to be
absolutely.
easy. I think being able to have a person that is a friend, a consort, a business partner, sometimes a therapist, sometimes just a goofy person to sit and laugh,
Yeah.
at the end of a long day is so important. That's why I really believe it's good to take your time and to choose the right,
Yeah.
partner.
Yeah. And I think that's it. It's not meant to be easy,
No.
and I think that was probably why we've got such a good marriage and we have got to where we are now, is because we have, you have to work at it. And sometimes you've got to have really difficult conversations, but as long as you've got each other's corner.
A wise person once told me the marriage itself, as in the relationship between the two, shouldn't be complicated or difficult.
Yeah.
The actual marriage, the communication,
Mm.
the love, everything that happens around it is
Yeah.
a mess.
Yeah.
The family, the kids, jobs,
Yeah.
sicknesses, that is a mess.
Yeah.
But when you're just two people on your own, that
Yeah.
shouldn't be messy or complicated. That
Yeah.
should be clear. Two people who love each other and are trying to just get there. In addition to people,
Mhm.
books play such a big role in our journey, especially for me. I'm such a bookworm. I go through so many a year. And I'm trying to cultivate a new list of books. So can you share with me a book that has inspired you or a book that helped you in your journey?
My goodness, I am exactly the same. I love a book. I just took a picture earlier of the books that I've read so far. Depending, for me at the moment, it's definitely a mindset and business thing. And I think the journey changes so much, doesn't it, year to year? The very first book I read, which changed my perception of, life, was Miracle Morning. That was the first one that I'd really
Do you
read.
remember who is it by? Miracle Morning.
Miracle Morning.
Okay.
Yeah. How we
I love
start
the
our
name.
day. Yeah. Like how we start our day is everything. And I was like, wow, that's amazing. And that honestly really did change things for me
I
reading
love
that
that.
book. Yeah.
There's power in deciding how you want your day to be.
Absolutely.
You wake up and you decide today I'm going to be, of course you get affected by things along the day, but when you decide today I'm going to be grateful or today I'm going to be, it really makes a big difference when you set up to have that, mentality makes a big
Definitely.
difference.
For me, my morning routine is everything, and that's something that I took away, because they say you can read books, but it's what you do with it, isn't it? You've got to put it
Yeah.
into action. But
It's
that
not
was
what you say, it's
yeah,
what you do.
that's
Yeah.
it. It's what you do. So that for me, that morning routine, how we start the day. I'm up at 5. I meditate. It set my intentions for the day, and I think it's everything. It makes
Run us
such a
through that
difference.
in a bit more detail, because I think
Mm,
we get to know. I love getting to know my guests through their day. So
yeah.
can you run me through your day? You said your mornings are very important. Can you run us through what happens after that?
So yeah, my morning routine, I need that hour, that power hour for myself. And then my son is up, so between 6 and 7, it's his time. We do spend time together in the morning, doing lunches. I hate lunch boxes, by the way, but doing all of that. And then after that, I put him on the bus and then I'll go to the gym.
Okay.
And I do that. I don't take him to school because intentionally of I need that time for me.
Okay.
That power hour in the morning, an hour with him, and then my gym time. And if I didn't have those two things there, I think,
Burnout.
yeah, burnout, or I wouldn't be able to achieve half as much as what I achieve.
Absolutely.
Mm.
It's a very, very sad thing when people misunderstand what it means to factor in your time.
Yeah, my goodness.
Put it in. Like
Yeah.
if you want a half hour for yourself, put it in the schedule. You schedule a dentist appointment, you schedule a work meeting,
Yeah,
you schedule a Zoom meeting, you
you have
schedule
to.
schedule in half an hour of maybe doing nothing.
Yeah.
Or of just, having a nice, shower or a bubble bath or sit with a book or call an old friend or whatever. Just allow yourself some time that is for you, not for anyone else, so that you don't burn out.
Absolutely.
You
Yeah.
can't fill from an empty cup. So it's just
No, you can't.
and I also I need to listen to my own advice, because I went through this of burning out where I was just like going on and on and on, work, 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 and then I realized I can't handle. I don't have the energy anymore.
No.
And speaking of burnout and speaking of being tired, a big part of, I think, self-care is understanding what you need when you need.
Mhm.
So can you tell us what's your go-to in terms of, when you are tired or you're on the edge, what's your go-to for wellness, or what's your grounding, what's your thing that helps you
So
fill that battery?
yeah, so there's a couple of things. I think when I'm feeling burnout, it means I'm not aligned, which is probably one of the biggest things I learned. I believe there is no burnout if, I have a company, but if I'm spending too much time in the wrong area and I'm not living true to purpose, that's where burnout comes in. So if I'm too much into one side of it, I believe that's where the burnout comes. I think, when it comes, you have to have this time for yourself. It's just non-negotiable, because
No.
I spent years in burnout and putting myself last and trying to be everything to everybody. And that was ultimately where, I've had a couple of breakdowns along the way because of it.
It hits you all at once. I've found with
Definitely.
experience. I've done
Yeah.
this to myself.
Yeah.
It hits you all at once where you think you're doing fine, and then I would wrap a big shoot or a big trip or whatever, and then I would get home, and then everything would just go wrong.
Yeah.
I would get sick. I would lose my voice. I would end up not being able to go to family functions and so
Yeah.
on. And it would just hit me all at once, and I would be like, "But why? I'm fine." And then I look at my schedule. I traveled to like 3
I know.
continents in 3 weeks, and
Yeah.
I
It does.
wonder why.
It catches up with us,
Yeah.
we can't. Yeah, you think it's going to take more time to do it and you've got to cram it in, but you actually have like the reverse effect where you've got to come out of things for a while, and when you hit burnout,
It
you
hits
hit
bad.
it hits
It's
bad.
bad. You mentioned your company, and
Mhm.
off the air before we started recording, I started bombarding you with
Yeah.
questions about hair because I was so sad that I cut my hair and no one noticed. I mean, I should be flattered, I guess, because everyone knows me with long hair, but I just cut my hair. And you were mentioning some things about hair. Can you mention your background and what you do, and also the advice you gave about hair?
Yes. So I think I the owner of Taro Salons, and I've got businesses in Dubai and Abu Dhabi. And we very much focus on the issue, rather than trying to sell a product or try and color. We really like to uncover
I love
the
that.
reason behind it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's the first thing there. So when you were talking about hair growth and how thick and how long and the myths and everything, first of all, you get dealt what you get dealt,
Yeah.
So if you've got naturally fine hair or you've got naturally long, thick hair, and you'll see some people can't grow it. It
Yeah.
doesn't get past a
Yeah.
certain length, or because a normal growth cycle is between 2 to 6 years.
When you say a growth cycle, what does that mean? Is that the hair reaches its maximum length?
Yeah, it will grow. So a growth cycle is in 3 stages. It grows and then it goes into resting and then it falls.
Okay.
So that will normally happen for about like 2 years, where you see, oh, your hair starts to fall a little bit more and you get a lot more new growth.
Mhm.
So it's normally between, 2 to 4 years. And then also when it's talking about whether the ends are dry or whether it's thick, you have to look at it from an internal perspective. So hair growth is all to do with gut health. And then obviously the ends of the hair, how to keep that healthy. So it's the products that you use and how we maintain it, how often you go to the salon. So it's always two
So
aspects.
it's not enough
to it.
just to take care of the external factors. You also have to deal with the internal. Like you mentioned your
Absolutely.
hormones, you mentioned
Yeah.
the supplements, you mentioned
Yeah.
being able to cut the hair in a timely manner so that it doesn't split and it doesn't
Yeah.
become waspy or and also for you to understand what your hair needs. You were
Absolutely.
mentioning, for example, if you have hair that is lighter or hair that is slow to grow, then you need to help it and boost it.
Of course.
And I think that's hair is
You
such
forget.
yeah, it's such an important part of who we are
Yeah.
as women and men sometimes as well, because some men have long hair. And you don't, it's a huge part of who you are,
know,
and we still
yeah.
don't understand it.
Well,
We still
yeah, hair is a
still
representation
don't
of
get-
you.
yeah.
Like it's it's your personality, and I think also as well your hair and your skin is always, you can see, it's from the gut health. So your quality of hair and your quality of skin, like these are the first things that we have to look at, like what is going on internally. But also again here, like hair loss is huge in the UAE.
I think many reasons. A lot of people are not from here originally, so when they come in and the water is a little bit different to where they're from, um, that might affect. I'm from Saudi Arabia.
Yeah.
We at some point in my life we couldn't shower in midday in the summer
Oh wow.
because it was boiling
Yeah, I
water.
can imagine.
No one showered in the midday summer because you can make tea with that. I mean,
My
you shouldn't drink it from the
goodness.
tap, but it
Yeah.
was so boiling hot. So, we're used to it,
Mm-mm.
but some people aren't used to that type of water, that type of temperature, or the composite of the water here. So maybe filters as well can help. I've noticed some people.
Yeah, there's two sides to it. Like people think it's the water we wash in, but majority of the time that helps the ends of the hair. But the water that we drink,
The consumption.
the plastic, people drinking out of plastic bottles as well is a huge part. We're ingesting around a credit card's worth of plastic every month doing these things,
Wow.
Nutritional value of food is huge, people that are on Ozempic or
Wow,
eating
but that's
takeaway
so
foods.
difficult. Like, how do you avoid?
We have a filter
Oh, that's
system.
difficult. Like, you should have a filter system for the water.
Yeah.
Oh,
And also the drinking water
but
as
like,
well.
for example, for me in sports, I just take the bottle and I
Yeah.
go. Like, I can't take the glass bottle because it's not allowed on the court because
Yeah.
the court is sand, for
You
example.
have to have the
Let's go back to your day because you mentioned the morning. I'd like to know more about what happened later in the day because you have such an interesting story.
Yeah, I live like a scheduled robot. But it's like you said there, like if you do not schedule, you don't get anything done. So yeah, the first 3 hours is probably where I do my, my most work. Like today, I have a driver also, because I travel up and down from Dubai to Abu
You do
Dhabi.
so much work in the car.
Yes, so I get so much work, whereas say a year ago where I was struggling with a little bit of burnout, these things like the driving up and down. So there is great. So I get 2 hours of extra work. So from Dubai to Abu Dhabi. Depending in the day, it depends whether I'm in one of my salons in Abu Dhabi or Dubai. But even if we go back to how I look at my week, so Monday, Tuesday, normally I always work from home. And these are the things where I'm working like on the business and in it. So I work on the business on a Monday and then I'm in it on a Tuesday. So I'm doing management meetings and everything like that. And then towards the end of the week is where I'll go off site and do things or arrange meetings. So yeah, we've got to be, I think this was learning how to run a calendar and to schedule for me, and trying to get everything in is probably one of the biggest things I think people can take away. Like otherwise we all have the same 24 hours in a day, don't we?
Yeah.
And if we're not intentional with every moment of it, I think,
It can run away from you. Yeah,
for sure.
absolutely.
For sure.
You're definitely a master at organizing, because running what you do and having so many moving parts is very difficult. But what made you choose this? What made you decide? Where did this come from? Where did this decision to have the
I
salons?
grew up feeling that I wasn't good enough, So
Aw.
even for me, like I didn't do well at school, and knowing what I know now, like I'm smart, but because I didn't fit into a box, these things start to I left feeling like leaving school feeling really, really lost. And obviously back then, if you're not, off to university, you're
Mm.
classed as like thick. Anyway, luckily for me, my mum saw an advert for a salon that was looking for a job, looking for people to come and work. And I'll never forget my first day, because I arrived and I was like, wow, these people are the same as me.
No.
Everybody was working really, really hard and, just very similar. Like it had opened my eyes up to so much more. And I'll never forget the look on people's faces, like that were coming in to have their hair done. It was like they were rushing in from the rain. They weren't like after a busy day at work, and you could see how they came in, and then you always get to see how they looked when they left.
There's power in taking
Yeah.
control of your image and who you are. And I
Yeah.
think this is what I find interesting about salons and all of these beauty places, because it really gives you a chance to live your best version. It
Definitely.
helps you. It gives you the tools. It's not just skin deep. It's not
Mm.
just superficial. It's really not just that.
No.
Because most of the time I've noticed, I want to look good for me first.
Yeah.
And then after that, everything else comes,
Yeah.
And if I don't have that urge to look good, then for myself,
Mm.
then what gives me the motivation to look good for anyone else?
Yeah.
And I think it's such a empowering thing that women have, and some men, but just
Absolutely.
being able to go to a place and be like, I want to feel good. Like
Yeah.
I always leave feeling good.
Yeah. And that's it for us. My motto is, we don't just want you to look good, we want you to feel it.
Feel good.
Feel it.
Yeah.
Because that is it. That time that we as women get for ourselves to sit in that chair. Like, we've built relationships with people over the years. We've seen them lose jobs. We've seen them, motherhood.
You build a relationship because you're sitting on that chair, for a long time.
There's so much to it that, it's not just about a service.
No.
It's about
A safe
how
place,
you can
yeah.
make somebody feel at the end of it.
Absolutely. I love to take a moment for a little bit of me time. And right now, let's take a break to say a huge thank you to Londonderry for the support of this series of the Quality of Life podcast. Because Londonderry ice cream is all about giving us little moments of joy and relaxation. Grab a scoop, kick back, and enjoy. The link is in the show notes. Now let's get back to the show. You mentioned the good, and of course, I love, as I said earlier, I love how empowering a salon is, or how much you give power to women when they want to, or men, or who want to take control of who they are and how they look. But I'm sure there are challenges. I'm sure you face some hard, difficult moments along the way. So, what would you say is the biggest challenge you face? What's the advice you would give someone that might need to hear it?
I think the biggest challenge, obviously, along the way has been myself, 9 times out of 10, because you put yourself under a lot of pressure. And I think, I started just me alone, I'm a hairdresser, and now I've scaled my company to 4 salons, over 100 people. So understanding that, challenges come always from yourself and what you put in the way of it, for instance. But also, again, challenges come from building a business, scaling a business. You have to, at every stage, we've been open 10 years now, but to understand that you have to consistently keep moving forward every year in order to be able to scale a business. So, I mean, we face challenges every day, don't we? So first of all, and it's like how do we cope with them as well every day?
Yeah, it's just, I think finding the courage to start and be bad at something is something that not many people. I'm also guilty of that. I'm guilty. I hate being bad at anything, and I get scared about starting new things because I don't want to be bad.
Yeah,
I don't want to let people down. I don't want to be disappointed. I don't want to waste time and money. I get very but what if it works? What if you can't? Sometimes the only thing you need to remember is that it's okay.
Mm-hmm.
Trial and error, and you just have to start.
Absolutely.
Not starting is worse than starting and failing, in my humble opinion.
And that's one thing I'll always look at.
Absolutely. This is a question I often ask people because when someone asks it to me, I found it so fascinating. What's the biggest misconception people have with what you do or with your industry? What's the biggest misconception?
People think that it's fake and superficial. It can be, the beauty industry gets a very, very bad rap. And I understand why at points, because when people are selling something to try to make somebody feel better, you can't, So say, for instance, for me, over the years, I've had, a bit of filler, a bit of this to try to feel better,
Yeah.
So, and I think when it gets shown in that way of, younger people and everything as to how they should look, but beauty and self-care is essential.
Absolutely. I think there's a fine line. I think there's a misconception. Let's break it down. I think wanting to look the best version of who you are is absolutely not vain.
Yeah.
It's self-care.
It's self-care. 100%.
You wanting to look good because we are creatures of our eyes.
Yeah.
Okay. What we see affects who we are.
Yeah.
So me wanting to look good, to have good skin, good hair, or whatever makes you happy, or good nails, whatever, that is not vain. My issue lies with wanting to be someone else.
Yes. Yeah.
That's where I draw the line.
Yeah.
When you are not happy with who you are, and you tend to look at other people, and you tend to compare yourself with other people, and then you go through the process of trying to change who you are to be happy, and you will never be happy. Because you need to accept, the type of person you are. You need to accept, I'm not against, fillers, Botox, plastic surgery. I'm not against if it makes you happy.
If it makes you
happy, but if it makes you you,
yes,
then I support it. But lots of young ladies no longer love who they are. I noticed this with ethnicities. They started wanting to change ethnicities, but there's beauty in your ethnicity.
Of course.
There's beauty in a sharp nose. There's beauty in a specific type of eyebrow. There's beauty in not having a very, very structured jaw, which is in now.
Yeah.
There's beauty in having a plump face and not a concave face. So they've become so fixated with,
I know, what's the next
next thing, or I want to look like that. I'm sorry, but most people started to look the same.
Yeah.
One of the best compliments I ever got, it wasn't a compliment actually, it was someone was trying to insult me. I was shooting, blah, blah, blah. I was doing an image consultancy for some TV or whatever. And the lady came to me, she's like, oh, you're tall, oh, you good hair. She's like, yeah, but we have to balance your nose and make your lips bigger because you have a sharp nose.
Wow.
Oh yeah, she came to me and she was like, and I told her the biggest, and she's like, yeah, but you look very, I think she said ethnic or Arab. I said, thank you.
I am.
I said, thank you. I am.
Yeah. Yeah.
I wasn't aware I needed to look, I'm Arab, I'm Saudi.
Yeah.
This is the nose we get. This is the eyebrows we get. These are the eyes we get. I accepted it and she just didn't understand. So and I went through being bullied and I went through so many things. So it was very difficult for me to reach this point, but it's so important to want the best version of you,
definitely.
not someone else. I'd like to know more about your next chapter. What's new? What's the next evolution in what you do? You're so diverse, and I feel like you're such a bubble of so many different facets. What's next?
I think for me, like I said, throughout my challenges career, so from not feeling good enough to trying to relocate, to being a mum, to building a business, there's been challenges and growth along the way. And for me, obviously having the salons and seeing so many women, it's about what more can we give to people?
Oh, yeah.
How much more value can we add? We're at year 10 in business as well. So, we've got to start to think of how do we get to the next 10 years? So,
and make it a living. Like how can you do, it's again the concept of ikigai, which is one of my favorite concepts. Have you ever heard that?
No.
That? So ikigai is a Japanese concept where in order for you to have a fulfilled life, you need to find a job that satisfy your soul, makes you
Yeah.
happy, that can help people and inspire people, and you can make a living.
Absolutely.
So having that, it's like three circles overlapping, and
And
that's your ikigai.
Of
And I
course.
love that concept because everyone needs to eat.
Yeah.
Everyone needs to put food on the table. But if you find something that can help and inspire and, make a difference
Yeah.
and make a living, then you're good.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So we then, with that in mind, is how do we always be better? So for us, a big thing this year is like, I want to merge wellness with beauty more so.
I love it.
And how do we do that? Like, so I've overcome, I've built, I've done, navigated things, and it's through the 8 pillars of wellness.
I love it.
So, and
It's not
understanding.
just superficial.
Yeah.
You want to help in a
Yeah.
deeper. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's not, wellness isn't fluffy, it's life, occupational wellness, social wellness, the people that we surround ourselves by. So understanding that that's how I've navigated, scaled, and, like gone through fighting burnout is now we want to do this for the people that are in the chair as well. So we are launching a free wellness app for our clients.
Is it
as well.
Do you have it, the name? Not yet.
It's Beyond the Hair.
Oh, okay.
Beyond
I
the
like
Hair.
it.
Yeah,
Okay.
Beyond the Hair wellness app. And that should be launched within the next month. So I understand when somebody's sat in the chair, if we can make them, look better, but how can we make them feel
better.
So if somebody goes in and they can read, we've got book recommendations, podcast recommendations, partnerships with other people in the wellness industry. So understanding that power that people spend in the chair, if they get to read or listen to something or take something away, we know we've done our job. So for me, it is about merging the two and, how we can give people more.
Yeah. You didn't mention the name of your salons. Can you please mention it?
Yeah, it's Tara Rose Salons.
Okay, it's very, very cool. And if you ever need a guinea pig, please let me know.
yeah,
I'm
sure.
happy to be,
We'll
I'm
get
happy
you
to
in.
be to be there to
We'll
to go
definitely
through the
get you
journey.
in. Yeah.
Would love to because
Shame that you've just had your hair
I
cut.
just cut my hair. Next time I'll come cut yours.
Yeah.
Maybe people will notice.
Yeah.
But I think it's so noble of you to give it back in a way that it's not just you have a platform, you have a service.
Yeah.
What more can you do?
And that's it.
Yeah.
We it's our job to give more. But again, when you know business is, how do we stand out from the crowd?
Yeah.
We don't just want to be another salon.
Absolutely.
We want to be more, we want to be high end. We want to be known for something different. And I think that you have to, that's why when we go back to the first question, living true to purpose, these things are really important to me. So,
Absolutely.
I believe I am where I'm supposed to be. And that being okay with being authentic as well, and I'm not having to follow the salon down the road and what they're doing. I want to, innovate. We want to do things more. And and I think that's where, that's where we feel whole.
I love it. It's so exciting, and I hope, and I'm gonna watch you grow and I see where it goes, and I'll definitely pass by to.
You should.
Yeah, because it's not just like we said, it's not just this. It's inside.
Yeah.
Before I let you go, I loved your story.
Thank you.
Have, which is actually we're debuting it today because this is a new part of the podcast, which is answer immediately what comes to your mind.
Okay.
It's a fire bullet kind of question. Be as silly as you want or be as deep as you want.
Yeah.
But don't take it too seriously.
No.
Ready?
Yeah.
Okay. 3, 2, 1. If you were a fruit, what would you be?
Oh, strawberry.
Mountain or beach?
Beach.
Early bird or night owl?
Early bird.
A word that defines you.
Authentic.
Love it. What's your biggest fear?
My biggest fear is biggest fear.
It's good that
spiders.
You can. Really? It's
Yeah.
good that it's that and it's not something else.
Yeah.
Introvert or extrovert?
Oh, right in the middle.
Okay. Omnivert.
Yeah.
I just learned
You
omnivert.
just learned that.
Yeah. What's your mantra?
It's every day is a new day.
Love it. Very, very simple yet very meaningful. What's your superpower?
Superpower is no judgment.
Love it. A guilty pleasure?
Chocolate.
Really?
Yeah.
What kind?
Oh, I mean, they were quite nice out there.
Yeah. I mean, dark or milk or...
Milk chocolate.
Okay. Yeah, because I can't eat dark chocolate, but milk chocolate.
Yeah.
And lately I've been pistachio. Last question. If you would have an autobiography about yourself, what would the title be?
Wow, that's a good one. There are no mistakes.
Very beautiful. Tara, thank you so much for being
you.
our in-person guest
I know.
on
What
Quality
an
of
honour.
Our first. The honor is ours. Thank you so much for having us.
Thank you.
Before I wrap up, Tara is having an awesome time creating her lovely Sunday on a Monday. As I say, a huge thank you to Londonderry for their support for the series of the Quality of Life podcasts. Tara, how's it going?
Great.
Because Londonderry ice cream is all about giving us little moments of joy and relaxation. And now we're going to whip up our Sundays. I don't know, this is going to be a bit of a mess as we say goodbye to our lovely guests. Thank you so much to Londonderry and to you for making this very special. If you want to do the same, you can find the link in the show notes. I need to get in on that.
Yeah, I know.